The laughter still echoed in my mind, sharp and cruel, like shards of glass cutting into my pride. I remembered the way they smirked at me at family dinners, how my cousins would exchange knowing glances whenever I reached for my worn-out wallet, how my uncle would joke about how I should have studied harder, worked smarter, married richer. To them, I was the failure of the family. The man who had dreams but no results. The man they could mock openly because I didn't fight back. For years, I played along, nodding, smiling, letting their words pierce me quietly. I lived in a small one-bedroom apartment, driving an old, rattling car that coughed louder than it started. I wore the same 3 shirts on rotation, because every extra penny I had went into something none of them knew about. Something that became my lifeline. While they laughed, I invested. Not in parties, not in fancy clothes, not in the shallow shows of wealth they loved so much. I studied every night after work, poring over real estate markets, stocks, and small businesses no one cared about. My weekends were spent in cramped cafes with my laptop, negotiating, reading contracts, taking risks they'd never dare touch. They thought I was broke because I lived modestly. They didn't know that every laugh, every sneer, every humiliation only fueled me more. Then came the turning point. My uncle, drunk on whiskey and arrogance, said during one Christmas dinner, "Don't be like him," he told his son, nodding at me with his glass raised. No ambition, no money, no future. The table erupted in laughter. Even my younger sister giggled, hiding her smile behind her wine glass. That night, I walked home in the snow, my hands freezing in my pockets, my chest burning with shame. But instead of breaking me, it hardened me. That was the night I promised myself I'd make them choke on their laughter. Years passed. They didn't know that the small investments I made were now skyscrapers. They didn't know that the rundown property I bought with everything I had was now worth millions because the city built a tech hub right next door. They didn't know that the startups I quietly funded had grown into companies with offices across Europe and Asia. And they especially didn't know that I now owned the very restaurant where they laughed at me last Christmas. I didn't tell anyone. I didn't flash wealth. I stayed silent, patient, letting my empire grow in the shadows. But when my cousin announced his engagement and invited the whole family to a lavish party, I knew the stage was set. They expected me to arrive in my usual old car, wearing my second-hand suit. But this time, I pulled up in a sleek black Bentley, its engine humming like a predator in the night. The valet rushed forward, bowing slightly when he realized who I was. My family, already inside, hadn't noticed yet. I stepped into the grand hall, tailored suit hugging my frame, a Rolex glinting on my wrist. Heads turned, whispers spread. But it was nothing compared to when my family finally saw me.